Hey, what's going on, guys? In today's video, we're going to be going back in time and having a look at the 1986 release of Hasbro's Inhumanoids, and this is Earth Corps member Dr. Derek Bright. So how tall exactly is Dr. Derek Bright? Let's grab the tape measure. The figure is 7 inches to be exact. Like with the other Earth Corps members, he does have a helmet. This one's actually a neat looking helmet, I have to admit. Does have the light piping on the top, so if you can get a good bit of light coming into it, this front part here will light up. A comparison to the other figures that we've looked at recently on this channel. There's Dr. Derek Bright, and in order of how we reviewed them, here's Augur. And then finally, we just move these guys all over. Here we have Herc Armstrong, the leader. They all are roughly about the same sort of height, perhaps Augur, or maybe Herc Armstrong is the taller of the three. But they are very unique to one another, which is one of the selling points, in my opinion, to picking these up. If you ever want to kind of get into a really cool retro toy line, I think, honestly, Inhumanoids really is the one that you want to go with. Let's quickly have a look at his file card, as this figure was removed from the file card many, many years ago. There's a picture of his costume. By the way, the read-up, or the read-up down below, Earth Corps member Dr. Derek Bright, codename Digger, occupation mining engineer, birthplace Lancaster, Pennsylvania. The height is 5 foot 8 inches. The weight is 175. Eyes blue, hair brown. And Dr. Derek Bright constantly seeks to improve his inventions and himself. He's always devising a new gadget as he continuously reads self-help books. After his legs were injured in a mining accident, he is technically handicapped. Dr. Derek designed and built the exploration suits worn by Earth Corps. He refuses to be left behind and usually leads the charge into danger. This is also one of those examples where, much like Herc Armstrong, in this show, he's just called Dr. Derek Bright. He doesn't actually have a code name, unlike Liquidator and unlike Augur. And like Herc Armstrong, he doesn't have a nickname. So he doesn't have Hooker, for example. Of the figures, of the Earth Corps member figures, this is one of those. This is the particular figure that, if you were to be buying this guy loose on eBay, or if you were to be finding this guy at a toy show or toy convention, this guy would be the one that would be the broken one. He does have these hooks, which luckily the hooks have remained intact. And they hinge back and forth. But I've seen many postings on eBay when these have gone on. And generally 9 times out of 10, this part is broken off, these little parts here. They are removable. So going back to what I had mentioned with the Augur, technically, you can mix and match these if you want to. Some of them don't obviously make sense because the color palettes, I mean, I like the claws, obviously the green going with the green and the blue, but, you know, as a kid, you don't look and analyze color palettes. Oh, that doesn't match, that doesn't match. Kids just want to have fun. I think that's a logo somewhere, or a tagline. So having a look at his armor here, he's got the Earth Corps logo up the top shoulder. He's a much more streamlined looking exosuit until you kind of spin him around, and then you think, my goodness, what is happening here? It looks like something from a 90s cartoon in which a computer virus has taken over something. That's the vibe I'm getting right here. It's just a train wreck of wires and sculpt. Somebody went excessively crazy. The green also balances quite nicely with the blue as the green pops, and then you've got the nice darker shade of blue. But it seems to be at random places. You have dark blue up here in the shoulder, lower areas of the leg, and then on the front it just looks like it's splotched. It almost seems like he's been burned by the sun. Some dark blue here, here. Again, on the legs it's just kind of mixing and matching where we want to slop dark color. Other than that, it's a neat looking suit. We didn't spend any time looking really at the head sculpt, which looks like, I don't even know what to describe this as. It looks like Danny Bonaducci from the Partridge Family, or it looks like a child actress, like a child actor, I should say, from like a Leave It to Beaver or some sitcom. He's like a little child piloting this giant mech suit. It is ridiculous, and not something that I would entertain the idea of ever displaying these figures without their corresponding helmets. Just for the sake of it, just to show you, he does have head articulation, and the heads are roughly about the size of a G.I. Joe, though the bodies are roughly the size of, say, a Marvel Legend. So you can see that proportionately the heads just don't match with the rest of the bodies. All the more reason to get the helmet and snap that into place and never speak of it again. Like Augur, Dr. Derek Bright's head does rotate, but through rotating it, you might find at times that the head pops itself off. It just doesn't stay in place as well. For the rest of his posability, though, excluding of the head, of course, his arms rotate. They hinge out again, but not really to the point where you can do anything with them. And there is that resistance that we had discussed in previous videos. It does feel like there's like a rubber band or something probably right in here, which if that ever be the case, and these are sitting on some sort of elastic, attachment between the two, that would be one dire thing to happen if that would ever to break, because it doesn't look like there's any proper means to dismantle this if you ever wanted to repair the toy. His hands rotate, if you want to technically count them as hands, and then you've got these claws that hinge back and forth. One large claw and then one smaller claw here. I suppose if you count these, he is one of the more posable members of Earth Corps, because he does actually have the hinges there also in his claws. No waist swivel, you're not going to get it here, guys. And a forward and back on the legs. The legs are really tight, though. About that's as much as I'm gonna. This leg's a lot easier to move than this leg right here. Not really sure why it's so tight, but in all honesty, I would probably favor a tighter joint rather than something that sits very, very loose. There is Dr. Derek Bright, one of the more victims of a broken figure if you ever have to find this guy loose. If you do find this guy loose, make sure you check to see that the claws are still fully intact. Dr. Derek Bright's costume or mech suit was one of my other favorites that I really liked in the show. Both Augur and Derek here had one of the cooler looking suits, and I really like the fact that he had also the claws, which he did make use of in a few instances, one of which I remember him falling down a chasm or something, and he's clawing himself back up using the claws that are on his hands. Be cautious, though, as I mentioned this aloud. If you are looking to pick this guy up loose, once again, as mentioned, make sure you are checking for whether these claws are going to be broken or not. And I've seen, again, many instances, checking this guy online, where claws either have been missing, one claw is completely broken off, or they're broken in some way or shape or form. I'm actually even surprised, pulling these guys out of storage, that Dr. Derek Bright didn't suffer any sort of damage or breakage to these plastic arms. I really was dreading getting this guy out because I was fearful that the claws were going to be broken off, and to much delight, as you can see and hopefully saw over the course of this review, they were still perfectly fine. A neat looking toy, head's a little on the ridiculous side, but you're probably not going to be displaying it with the helmet, without the helmet anyways, so I think he's really a neat looking pickup. Today we were going back in time and having a look at the 1986 release of the Hasbro Inhumanoids, and this was Dr. Derek Bright. I think we're going to do a couple more of these as well, and actually if you watched this channel in the previous years when we first had a look at these, we also had a look at the vehicles, but I was much skeptical and apprehensive as to whether I wanted to build the vehicles. And I think this time around, when we re-look at the toy line, I might even have some fun and maybe do a build on camera of these original vehicles. So if you guys want to see that, let me know down below in the comments section. If you guys haven't had a chance yet to subscribe to this channel, what are you waiting for? Subscribe button's just below the video description or just below the video that's playing currently. Make sure you hit that little subscribe button. You'll never miss a beat when it comes to not only retro reviews, but other toy reviews coming onto this channel as well. As always, guys, thanks for watching as you always do. I'll see you next time.